I lost my father to cancer last month, and what follows in this video is a slideshow that was put together by my niece and was shown during a celebration of life gathering of family and friends and co-workers that was just held last weekend. And a lot of the photos you'll see in the slideshow came from actually really slides that range back into the early to mid 60s, like some of these early ones here. And it looks like I was upset about something. Maybe I wanted to ride it and get my sister off of that toy. But so some of these are a little fuzzy or a little washed out because they came off of slides that have been sitting in the closet for 40 or 50 years. But I think that might be my little brother. But I think that's me. Christmas probably about 1965 or 66 or so. So this is a house I grew up in, and my two sisters and a family friend, and favorite memory of riding my dad's leg like a horse, or playing at the lake where we'd go on vacation once a year down in North Carolina at my uncle's house. But spent a lot of time with family and friends, and Dad always laughing. This is my dad and one of my cousins out on the lake down in North Carolina. And I don't know, either me or my brother, I'm not quite sure. A little too washed out to tell. But I know we visited this dam, which I think was out on the east end of Lake Gaston in North Carolina. And this probably mid-1960s or so, maybe late 1960s. And let's see, we have to count the candles to figure out whose birthday it is, but that was the dining room, the house growing up, but might have been my birthday. And it's a nice picture of my mom and dad from about that same time period. This is also my mom and dad at my wedding almost 10 years ago. Also from my wedding weekend up at a really nice resort up in New Paltz, New York. And this is from probably 2 years ago down on Long Beach Island, New Jersey shore. This pictures all bounce around. This is back down at the lake, but probably now in the late 70s, maybe early 80s. This picture is probably not that old. Oh, family reunion probably from, let's see, it looks like I was a freshman in college here, so that makes it 1981 or 1982. And this is a nice family picture at my house. And another picture from my backyard from several years ago. Well, that's well, you can tell that's my wedding. And just a nice collection of photos. They jump back and forth in years. Picture of my brother and one of my nieces. My dad playing checkers with her on the floor. And another picture from my wedding weekend. And another from that weekend as well. You may notice two wedding outfits. Well, my wife and I got married twice. Once at this resort and then once at a church, and they were 6 months apart, so it wasn't all from that. But this is from the resort wedding up in the mountains in New York State. And it's a nice family photo from that weekend as well. Oh, back in the backyard again. I think this picture appears a couple times in the slideshow, or it's a slight variation of the picture. And always like to have Christmas gatherings at our house here, so that's from that. And one of my nieces, this is going back probably about 3 or 4 years now. And just a family gathering from that Christmas. And going back to the wedding again. Just nice to have all these pictures of my dad. Just enjoying the family, which he always did. We tried to give everybody in one group picture in our family room here, and we did that a couple of years in a row. This is going back to my dad before kids, probably in the late 1950s. And there's with my oldest sister. Again, that probably dates to maybe 1960 or 61. That's a nice Christmas ornament that we made of my mom and dad's wedding photo. This might be in Germany. Dad traveled several times to Germany. That's a picture of one of my sisters and probably her firstborn, so that goes back 20, 25 years or more. A nice picture. This is from my cousin's, I think, high school graduation, probably out in Ohio. One of my dad's passions was stamp collecting, and so that was at one of the last stamp collecting meetings that he went to. A nice, very early picture of my mom and dad, probably before kids. I think it's the back of my brother's house, celebrating probably one of his kids' birthdays. And this is my dad with his oldest brother when he was alive, and who actually played Lincoln in a number of plays. So that was nice to see that. And picture of my dad and his sister. And this is one of the only wedding photos that my dad had taken, so that's what that's from. Let's see his picture of one of my oldest nephews now, but obviously not when he was very old. So that picture is probably close to 25, 26 years old. That same nephew out on a boat, and he's got a lot longer hair now. And my dad and his sister and one of my sisters and one of her kids. But lots of the pictures came from Christmas holidays, and oh, there's my sister's wedding. And my sister's oldest graduation. Let's see, some kind of a family party. This looks like it's at my sister Louise's house. This looks like it might be a retirement party from when he retired from the hospital here in New Jersey before moving out to Pennsylvania. This is a Thanksgiving up at my sister's up in upstate New York. And this is from a couple years ago down on Long Beach Island in the Jersey Shore. And there's another picture. This is down at the south end of the island with my mom and dad and my in-laws. And we're back to Christmas in my living room. And there's that backyard picture again. I think, like I said, I think this appears 2 or 3 times in this slideshow. My brother's oldest, again, that's probably 4 or 5 years ago. And this is my dad and 2 of his brothers. He was one of 7. That's with his oldest, and I forget where Bobby fit in terms of age, but that's with my mom and dad and my dad's oldest brother. And back with the stamp collecting. The stamp club was nice to provide a couple of photos from the last meeting that my dad attended, which was probably in the spring of 2018, the spring of this year. But he was very passionate about collecting stamps and cataloging them and learning the history and that type of a thing. So it's nice to have those pictures included here. And there's a picture of us at the Old Barney Lighthouse on the north end of Long Beach Island. And now we're on the south end of Long Beach Island down at Holgate. So looking at a fancy new digital camera about 20 years ago when they were fancy and new. This, I think, is from my dad's 80th birthday party about 4 years ago. And then a birthday gathering for probably either my brother or one of his kids. And although it might have been Christmas, because it looks like Mom's getting some gifts there too. So my dad and my little brother. Well, it's my only brother, but I call him my little brother. And this was at my little brother's wedding. We've got a number of photos in here from that wedding day, and I guess they've been married 15 years, maybe longer. I forget now, but a couple of nice pictures. The wedding was at a vineyard in eastern Pennsylvania, so a really nice picturesque place. I think everybody had a really good time at that wedding. Back to a Christmas gathering at my house. This is a big family gathering in the family room. And this is Dad with two of his brothers and his sister. But I think towards the end we've got one with everyone. But this is all that was left at the time when this picture was taken. As my mom and dad dancing at one of my cousin's weddings. So we always danced to whenever Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass came on. He certainly grabbed my mom or whoever else would go out dancing with him. He'd do that. This was at a party at my sister's, and we surprised him with by bringing his business partner from Germany over as a surprise to the party. That's my dad with his sister, and we gave Mom and Dad a really nice album with a ton of pictures and memories, family pictures and things like that. So they were enjoying looking at that. And these are actually pictures that were just before my dad's business partner came in, and this is when he came in. Just the look of shock on his face was great. So I'm glad I caught that with the camera. Yes, spending some time talking with his business partner. The two of them kind of had a worldwide pharmaceutical consulting partnership, so they really enjoyed the time together because they didn't get to see each other more than once every couple of years. So it worked out really nice. And my mom and dad were married on Christmas Day, so Christmas was always very special at our house. This with my oldest niece on our side. This is from a gathering from my father's brother when he passed, but gathered at the cabin down on the lake in North Carolina. And this is another Christmas, it looks like, up at my sister's in upstate New York. And this goes back, and that's probably about 20 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. Dad's always smiling and playing with the kids. That's one of the joys in his life. And the kids all knew that he had games on his iPad, so he'd always have something to play with. Thanksgiving always had about one dessert per person. This is at one of my sisters. This is attending a ceremony at Penn State for one of my nieces. She did a lot of good work at Penn State. Is now teaching. And that's the only wedding photo that we have of my mom and dad, because my dad was still in college when they got married. But you can see some of the stamp paraphernalia and books and things like that around his computer there. So again, a very big hobby of his, to stamp collecting for well over 60 years. He did that. Well, probably even longer. This is on the deck of the beach house a couple years ago on Long Beach Island with my parents and my in-laws. Another Thanksgiving picture at one of my other sister's houses. And this is my dad with three of his brothers and his sister. And this is probably the only picture we have with all seven of them together, or the most recent one. Or I shouldn't say recent, that picture was probably taken in the early 70s. And this is at my oldest sister's house. And that's the slideshow that we had, so I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.